When she opened her eyes that morning, the man lying next to her wasn't who she thought it was. Her heart stopped. This wasn't her boyfriend's room. This was her best friend's father's bedroom. And he was waking up too. What would you do in this situation? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. But first, let me tell you how this nightmare began. Amara had always been the careful one. The girl who thought twice before making decisions. The girl who wore her seatbelt even in the back seat. The girl who never drank too much at parties. But that night, everything changed. And now, as the morning light crept through the curtains of Chief Okafor's bedroom, she realized that one mistake could destroy everything she had built. Let me take you back to where it all started. 3 days earlier, Amara lived in a small flat in Surulere, Lagos. She shared the apartment with her younger sister, but that week her sister had traveled to Ibadan for her friend's traditional wedding. Amara was alone, and she didn't mind. She loved the quiet. After working long hours as a sales representative at a pharmaceutical company, she craved peace. That Friday evening, her phone buzzed. It was Adanna, her best friend since secondary school. They had been inseparable for over 10 years. Adanna was the bold one, the one who laughed loudest, who wore the brightest colors, who never feared what people thought. Amara loved her for that. The message read, "Babe, come to my house this weekend now. My parents traveled to Enugu for a burial. I'm bored, die. Let's catch up. We'll cook, gist, watch movies. Please, I'm begging you." Amara smiled. It had been weeks since they last saw each other. Between work and life, their friendship had turned into WhatsApp voice notes and quick phone calls. She typed back, "Okay, I'm coming. But I hope you have food and that your house sha?" Adanna replied immediately, "Food full ground. Just come with your fine self." That Saturday afternoon, Amara packed a small bag. She threw in a nightgown, a change of clothes, her phone charger, and her toiletries. She locked her flat and took a bike to Adanna's family house in Ikeja. The house was a beautiful 3-bedroom bungalow, painted cream and brown. The compound had a small garden where Mrs. Okafor grew vegetables and pepper. Amara had visited this house countless times. She knew every corner. She knew where the extra plates were kept, where the remote control always disappeared to, and which chair in the living room was Chief Okafor's favorite. But Chief Okafor wasn't supposed to be home. Adanna had said her parents traveled. When Amara arrived, Adanna opened the gate with a wide smile. She wore a loose gown, and her hair was packed in a messy bun. They hugged tightly, rocking side to side like 2 children. "Finally, you came," Adanna said, pulling her inside. "I was about to call you again, oh." "Abeg, I'm here now," Amara laughed. "So, what are we cooking?" "Jollof rice and chicken," Adanna announced proudly. "I even bought drinks. Tonight, we're celebrating life." They spent the afternoon in the kitchen, singing along to Afro beats playing from Adanna's phone. They fried chicken, boiled rice, and argued over who made the best jollof between them. The house smelled of curry, thyme, and fried onions. They laughed until their stomachs hurt, gossiping about old classmates, work stress, and boys. As evening came, they moved to the living room with plates of food and bottles of Fanta. They sat on the floor, legs crossed, eating and watching a Nollywood movie on Netflix. The movie was dramatic. A woman caught her husband cheating with her sister. Amara shook her head. "Men are not loyal," she said, chewing her chicken. That's why I'm taking my time with Chidi. I need to be sure. Chidi was Amara's boyfriend. They had been dating for 8 months. He was a graphics designer who worked freelance. He was kind, funny, and patient. But Amara still had her guard up. Adanna nodded. You're wise. Me, I'm tired of men. They'll just waste your time and move on. They continued watching until the movie ended. By then, it was past 11 p.m. Adanna yawned and stretched. I'm tired, oh, let's sleep, she said. Where will I sleep? Amara asked. In my room, of course, Adanna replied. We'll share the bed like old times. They brushed their teeth together in the bathroom, giggling at their reflections in the mirror. Adanna's room was cozy. Pink curtains, a double bed with white sheets, and posters of American celebrities on the walls. They climbed into bed, still talking in the dark. Do you remember when we used to sneak out of the hostel to buy suya? Adanna whispered. Amara laughed softly. And Matron almost caught us that night. I was shaken like a leaf. They talked for another hour, their voices growing quieter until sleep took over. But around 2 a.m., Amara woke up. Her throat was dry. She needed water. She blinked in the darkness, careful not to wake Adanna, and quietly slipped out of bed. She tiptoed to the door, opened it gently, and stepped into the dark hallway. The house was silent. Only the hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen could be heard. Amara walked slowly, her hand brushing the wall to guide her. She reached the kitchen, opened the fridge, and the light spilled out. She grabbed a bottle of water and drank deeply. The cold water felt good against her throat. After drinking, she closed the fridge and made her way back. But here's where everything went wrong. In the darkness, Amara got confused. She thought she was walking back to Adanna's room, but she wasn't. The hallway had 3 doors: Adanna's room, the guest room, and Chief Okafor's room. Amara had been to this house so many times that she thought she knew it with her eyes closed. But tonight, in the pitch darkness, she made a mistake. She pushed open a door and walked in. The room smelled faintly of men's cologne. She didn't notice. She was half asleep. She climbed into the bed and pulled the blanket over herself. The bed felt different, bigger, softer. But Amara was too tired to think. She closed her eyes and drifted back to sleep. What she didn't know was that Chief Okafor had returned home late that night. He had not traveled with his wife. There had been a last-minute change. Mrs. Okafor went alone, and Chief Okafor stayed back to handle some business matters. He came home around 1 a.m., exhausted. He didn't check on Adanna. He simply went straight to his room and collapsed into bed. And now, hours later, 2 people who should never have been in the same bed were lying side by side. When morning came, Amara's eyes opened slowly. Sunlight was seeping through the curtains. She stretched her arms and yawned. Then she turned her head to the side and froze. Next to her, lying on his back with his eyes still closed, was Chief Okafor. His face was calm, his chest rising and falling with each breath. He was wearing a singlet and wrapper. His arm was resting above his head. Amara's heart stopped beating. Her breath caught in her throat. Her eyes widened in horror. She couldn't move. She couldn't scream. She just stared, her mind racing, trying to make sense of what she was seeing. This can't be real. This can't be happening. She looked around the room. The walls were beige. There was a large wardrobe, a dressing table, a calendar on the wall. This wasn't Adanna's room. This was Chief Okafor's room. Panic flooded her body like ice water. Her hands started shaking. She looked down at herself. She was still wearing her nightgown. Nothing had happened, she was certain. But that didn't matter. She was in her best friend's father's bed, and he was right there, next to her. Oh God, oh God, oh God! Her mind screamed at her to get up, to run, to disappear before he woke up. She moved carefully, inch by inch, trying not to shake the bed. Her heart was pounding so loud she thought he would hear it. She swung her legs over the side of the bed and placed her feet on the cold floor. But just as she was about to stand, Chief Okafor stirred. He groaned softly and turned his head. His eyes fluttered open, and then he saw her. For a moment, neither of them spoke. They just stared at each other, frozen in shock and confusion. Chief Okafor's eyes widened. His mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. Amara's voice came out in a whisper, broken and terrified. "Uncle, I didn't." Chief Okafor sat up quickly, his face a mixture of confusion and alarm. "Amara? What are you doing here?" Tears filled Amara's eyes. "I'm sorry, Uncle. I swear I didn't know. I woke up to drink water. I came back. I thought I was going to Adanna's room. I didn't know. I swear to God, I didn't know." Chief Okafor ran his hand over his face, trying to process what was happening. He looked at her, then at the bed, then back at her. His voice was firm, but low. Did anything happen?" "No, sir," Amara said quickly, shaking her head. "Nothing happened. I just slept. I didn't even know you were here. Adanna said you traveled." Chief Okafor exhaled deeply. He looked relieved, but his face was still tense. Okay, calm down. Nothing happened. It was just a mistake." But even as he said it, they both knew the gravity of the situation. This wasn't just a mistake. This was a scandal waiting to explode. "You need to leave," Chief Okafor said quietly. "Go back to Adanna's room, quietly, before anyone wakes up." Amara nodded frantically, tears streaming down her face. She stood up, her legs weak, and hurried to the door. She opened it, glanced back one last time at Chief Okafor, and then slipped out into the hallway. She ran to Adanna's room, pushed the door open, and climbed back into bed. Adanna was still asleep, snoring softly. Amara pulled the blanket over her head and cried silently into the pillow. Her whole body was shaking. "What have I done? What have I done?" She couldn't tell anyone. She couldn't tell Adanna. She couldn't tell Chidi. She couldn't tell her sister. This secret would have to stay buried, forever. But secrets, as we all know, have a way of coming to light. The rest of that morning was torture for Amara. She stayed in bed, pretending to sleep, until Adanna finally woke up around 9 a.m. "Good morning, babe," Adanna said cheerfully, stretching. "Did you sleep well?" Amara forced a smile. "Yes, I slept well." They went to the kitchen to prepare breakfast. Amara's hands were still trembling as she cracked eggs into a bowl. She kept her head down, avoiding eye contact. Adanna didn't notice. She was busy talking about a new guy who had been sending her messages on Instagram. Then, the sound of footsteps. Chief Okafor walked into the kitchen. He was now dressed in a polo shirt and trousers. His face was calm, but his eyes briefly met Amara's. There was a silent understanding between them. "Don't say anything." "Good morning, Daddy," Adanna said, smiling. "Good morning, my dear," Chief Okafor replied. He glanced at Amara. "Good morning, Amara." Amara's voice cracked. "Good morning, sir." He nodded and walked to the fridge, grabbed a bottle of water, and left the kitchen without another word. Adanna laughed. My daddy is always so serious in the morning. Don't mind him. Amara tried to laugh, but it came out strained. That afternoon, Amara left. She told Adanna she had to go home early because her sister called. Adanna was disappointed but didn't argue. They hugged goodbye, and Amara promised to visit again soon. But as Amara sat in the bus heading back to Surulere, she knew she could never return to that house. She stared out the window, her mind replaying the morning over and over again, the image of Chief Okafor waking up next to her, the look in his eyes, the fear, the shame. She felt dirty, even though nothing had happened. Over the next few weeks, Amara tried to act normal. She went to work, replied to Adanna's messages, and spent time with Chidi. But the guilt was eating her alive. Every time Adanna called, Amara's heart raced. Every time Chidi kissed her, she felt like a liar. She started avoiding Adanna's calls. She made excuses. Work was busy. She was tired. She wasn't feeling well. Adanna grew concerned. Amara, are you okay? You've been acting strange, Adanna texted one evening. I'm fine. Just stressed with work, Amara replied. But she wasn't fine. She was breaking apart. One night she sat alone in her room and cried. She prayed. She asked God for forgiveness. She asked for strength. She wanted to forget that morning, but it was burned into her memory. And then, 1 month later, everything changed. Amara missed her period. At first, she didn't think much of it. Sometimes her cycle was irregular. But after 2 weeks, she started feeling nauseous. Her breasts were tender. She was tired all the time. Number. Please, God, no. She bought a pregnancy test from the pharmacy. Her hands shook as she peed on the stick and waited. 3 minutes felt like 3 hours. She closed her eyes, too afraid to look. When she finally opened them, her world collapsed. 2 lines. Positive. She was pregnant. But how? She hadn't slept with anyone. She and Chidi had been intimate, yes, but they always used protection. And it had been over a month since they last did anything. Wait. Her mind raced back to that morning. Chief Okafor's room. The bed. The blanket. Had something happened that she didn't remember? Had she been drugged? Had he... Number. She would have known. She would have felt it. But then how? How was she pregnant? Unless... Her blood ran cold. Unless it happened before. Days before. When she was with Chidi. But the timing didn't make sense. She had been careful. They had been careful. Amara's mind was spinning. She couldn't think straight. She couldn't breathe. She sat on the bathroom floor and cried until she had no tears left. Who was the father? Chidi? Or... No, it couldn't be. She hadn't slept with Chief Okafor. She was sure of it. But doubt crept in like poison. She needed answers. She needed to talk to someone. But who? Adanna? Number? Chidi? Number? Chief Okafor? Absolutely not. She was alone. Completely alone. Days passed. Amara's belly remained flat, but her mind was a storm. She decided she had to tell Chidi. He deserved to know. Maybe he would stand by her. Maybe he would help her figure this out. One evening, she invited him over. They sat in her living room, and she told him. She watched as his face changed from concern to shock to anger. You're pregnant? He said, his voice rising. How, Amara? We always used protection. I know, she said, crying. I don't understand either. Chidi stood up, pacing. Are you sure it's mine? Amara's heart broke. Who else would it be? He looked at her, his eyes searching hers. I don't know, Amara. You tell me. Chidi, please. I need time to think, he said, cutting her off. He grabbed his jacket and left. Amara sat there in the dark, her world crumbling around her. 2 weeks later, Chief Okafor called her. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Amara?" His voice was low, serious. "We need to talk." Her heart pounded. "About what, sir?" "You know what?" She went silent. "Meet me tomorrow. Victoria Island. There's a restaurant called Mama Cass. 2 p.m. He hung up. The next day, Amara sat across from Chief Okafor in a quiet corner of the restaurant. He was wearing sunglasses, even though they were indoors. He looked tense. "I've been thinking about that morning," he said quietly. "And I need to know. Did anything happen that I don't remember?" Amara shook her head. "No, sir. I told you. Nothing happened." He studied her face. "Then why do you look so afraid?" Amara's lips trembled. "Because I'm pregnant." Chief Okafor's face went pale. He removed his sunglasses and leaned forward. "What?" "I'm pregnant," she repeated, tears streaming down her face. "And I don't know how." "I didn't sleep with you, I'm sure of that. But my boyfriend thinks I'm lying. And I can't explain it. I can't explain any of this." Chief Okafor sat back, his face a mask of shock and guilt. "Amara, I swear to you, nothing happened that night. I would never." "I know," she whispered. "But then how? How am I pregnant?" They sat in silence, two people trapped in a nightmare neither of them created, but both had to live with. "Does Adanna know?" he finally asked. Amara shook her head. "No one knows except Chidi." "And he left me." Chief Okafor exhaled deeply. "This is a disaster." "I know." He looked at her, his expression softening. "What do you want to do?" "I don't know," she said honestly. "I don't know anything anymore." Chief Okafor reached across the table and placed his hand over hers. "Whatever you decide, I will support you. Not because I'm guilty, but because you're my daughter's friend. And you don't deserve this." Amara looked into his eyes and saw sincerity. For the first time in weeks, she felt a sliver of hope. "Thank you, sir." But as they left the restaurant that day, both of them knew the truth. The secret would eventually come out. And when it did, lives would be destroyed. Because some mistakes, no matter how innocent, can never be undone. Hello, beautiful people. If you've made it this far, I want to ask you something. Have you ever been in a situation where you were blamed for something you didn't do? Drop a comment and share your story. And if this story touched you, please hit that like button, share with your friends, and subscribe to this channel. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss our next story. Thank you for watching, and stay blessed.